My heart shattered when my boyfriend neglected me. I never expected to fall for my coach. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. Moments before, I'd been smiling, a simple laugh echoing through my chest, but then silence. The moment he looked away, scrolling through his phone instead of meeting my gaze, twisted my insides. My chest felt heavy, like rocks pressing down, and warmth vanished from my cheeks. I stood frozen, shock coursing through me, realizing I was alone in a crowded room. That was Mike. My boyfriend. My heart. Now, his ambivalence felt like a dagger. I fought tears, struggling to breathe as I felt the cracks form. I had always thought love was warm and bright, but here it was, a frigid darkness sweeping over me. I glanced around at the other couples, their hands interlaced. The world looked vibrant, while I drowned in gray. I never thought I would draw closer to someone new. My coach, Lisa, had been nothing but a fierce reminder of my own limitations. Strong and confident, she carried an aura of authority that both intimidated and excited me. Yet, beneath her tough exterior, I sensed something deeper. As the season progressed, she pushed me beyond my comfort zone, but with each workout, my admiration began to blur the lines. I started noticing the small things, the way her laughter echoed with joy, or how her eyes sparkled with intensity when she strategized. It was intoxicating. After each practice, I found myself lingering, wanting those rare smiles, those fleeting affirmations she offered only to the hardest workers. It felt like a secret no one else knew. I craved to be close to her. Yet I held back. Coming out of a heartbreak, I didn't want to slip into the abyss of confusion again. But every glance, every brush of skin sent shivers down my spine. My thoughts began to race, tumbling into uncertain depths. Could I? Would I? The air crackled during one practice. She was close, so close, as we sprinted across the field until we dropped in exhaustion, panting. I could feel her warmth against my skin. I caught her gaze lingering, and my heart raced. Did she feel it too? I was terrified yet hopeful, my heart pounding louder than the world around us. What would happen if I gave in? If I embraced those sparks of connection? But curiosity is a potent force. One evening, I stumbled upon a hidden note buried deep in my gym bag. It had Lisa's unmistakable scrawl, "Meet me where we first bonded. I have something to tell you." My heart thudded. What could it mean? A part of me craved the answer, while another feared it. I stood at the edge, teetering between the familiar pain of rejection and the thrilling idea of possibility. The night crept in. Stars blinked above like knowing eyes, and my pulse quickened. I was on the verge of something. But what would it cost me? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The night air was thick with tension, a cool breeze brushing against my skin as I stood at the place where laughter had once flowed freely, where hopeful moments mingled with reality. I reached the old oak tree, its branches stretching out like protective arms, and for a fleeting second, the memories of laughter washed over me. But now, they were clouded by uncertainty, by a longing that tangled with fear. I tugged nervously at my sleeves, glancing around. The shadows danced, whispering doubt into my mind. What if I was misreading everything? What if the admiration I felt for Lisa was merely a guise for something deeper, a distraction from my heartbreak? I bit down hard on my lip, forcing back the tumultuous emotions threatening to spill over. Then, like a spark illuminating darkness, I saw her. Lisa emerged from the shadows, her silhouette etched against the moonlight, casting an ethereal glow. I was rendered speechless, my thoughts spiraling. She approached with purpose and calm, her green eyes reflecting a warmth I had seldom seen outside of practices and mundane coaching moments. "Thanks for coming," she said, a hint of breathlessness in her voice. I wasn't sure I should," I managed, my heart racing faster than I thought possible. Before I could scrutinize my motives, I felt her presence grounding me, drawing me in. "I've noticed something," she began, pausing to lock eyes with me in a way that made the world around fade into nothingness. "You've been pushing yourself hard this season. It's incredible to see, but it's not just that I can see it in your eyes." "What do you mean?" I asked, the question hanging heavily between us. "Your heart. There's a fire in you, but it's mixed with pain." Her voice was somber but reassuring, as if she understood me more than I understood myself. Her honesty felt like a balm on the jagged edges of my vulnerability, yet it stoked the fire of confusion within me. I felt my emotions catch in a whirlwind. "I don't know what to do, Lisa. Everything feels upside down." I let the words tumble forth, raw and unfiltered. She stepped closer, and I could feel the warmth radiating from her. "It's okay to feel lost. I've had my own demons to confront. Sometimes, feeling lost can lead to unexpected places. It can open doors." Her gaze held mine, and for a moment, I let my guard down. The darkness I felt for so long started to shift, giving way to something ambiguous yet hopeful. I wanted to explain my feelings, to voice the turmoil spinning inside me, but the fear of rejection snaked through my thoughts, freezing my tongue. "Do you think?" I hesitated, searching her face for answers validation. "Do you think it's wrong to want something more?" Lisa's expression softened. "What do you want, exactly?" The question echoed within minute, just a query about my feelings for her, but a larger challenge all my hopes and aspirations, the fragments of my shattered heart. I drew a shaky breath, my courage faltering. "I want to be happy again. I want to discover what this all means." She nodded slowly, understanding etched across her features, but then the moment turned precarious. The seconds stretched, and an invisible wall seemed to rise between us. Her expression shifted as if I had stepped back into the light of reality, and it stung unexpectedly. "I need to be careful," she said, breaking eye contact, a shadow falling across her face. "You're my athlete, and in your coach it's complicated." The distance in her words cut deeper than I'd anticipated, a swift reminder of our roles. Suddenly, the warmth that had enveloped me turned into a chilling realization. Was I merely a fleeting interest, a distraction from her responsibilities? "I understand," I whispered, though my heart felt ripped between connection and duty. Tears pricked my eyes, threatening to overshadow the moment. "Maybe I'm just confused." As I turned to leave, the weight of all I felt pulled at my heart. Just before I vanished back into the night, a gentle touch stopped me. A hand gripped my wrist. "I never meant for this to hurt you. You're not just an athlete, you mean something more to me." "Too," she confessed, her voice a mixture of hesitation and longing. The revelation hung suspended in the air, electrifying and terrifying all at once. My breath caught, and the world around us faded away, just as the ache in my heart collided with an undeniable truth. But as I turned to face her, ready to explore these unexpected feelings, my phone buzzed violently in my pocket. A message from Mike, and I froze. "Meet me. We need to talk," the text read, sending chills down my spine. Everything I thought I understood, every step I had taken toward healing quivered at the edge of this new revelation. The distance between Lisa and me felt insurmountable as my heart raced with conflicting emotions. "I need to go," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. Before she could respond, I stumbled backward, tearing myself away from the gravity of the moment. Every step was heavy, laden with questions that twisted my stomach into knots. I walked towards the parking lot, the cold air biting at my skin. My phone buzzed again, and I hesitated, warring with my instincts. I should ignore Mike. This was our moment, and yet I could feel the pull of responsibility weighing me down. With a trembling hand, I pulled out my phone. The message from Mike lay stark against the screen. "I'll be waiting." As I drove, my thoughts swirled around the images of tonight: Lisa's gentle smile, the warmth of her hand on my wrist, and the unguarded confession that hung like a soft promise between us. But the joy was eclipsed by the looming shadow of Mike. He had been my rock and my anchor, but lately, our connection felt forced. I thought of the countless nights spent together, only to find myself wearing a mask of false happiness. By the time I arrived at the secluded spot where Mike had asked to meet, I felt hollow, an empty vessel caught between two worlds. He was leaning against his truck, hands shoved into his pockets, jaw clenched. His expression was unreadable, a mixture of concern and frustration. "Where were you?" he shot, the edge to his voice slicing into the air between us. "I was out," I stammered, fumbling for words. I could scarcely admit that I was still reeling from my encounter with Lisa. "What is this about?" He pushed off the truck, striding forward as if closing the gap between us would bridge the distance that had grown in our relationship over the past few months. "I know something's been off. You've been distant. I've heard whispers people are noticing." I felt heat rush to my cheeks. The very thought of anyone knowing of my internal struggle felt humiliating. "I'm fine, Mike," I insisted, though I could feel the cracks forming in that facade. "Things are just complicated." "Complicated, huh?" His tone shifted to one of sarcasm, which only fueled my resentment. "Is that what you call it when you keep avoiding me? When it feels like you're pulling away?" His words raked against the tender places in my heart. "I'm not avoiding you," I managed, but it felt like a lie. The truth was, I had become acutely aware of my emotions, of Lisa's truth, and of my own buried desires, something I could no longer deny. "Look, we need to talk about us," he finally said, a weight resting heavily on his shoulders. "I'm worried about you. I don't know what's going on, but if we're going to make this work, you have to be honest with me." The concern in his voice tugged at my heart, yet it also felt like a chain binding me to a life I no longer recognized. At that moment, I wished I could vanish, escape the suffocating pressure of expectations. But before I could collect my scattered thoughts, the moment warped into something sinister. The sound of shattering glass broke through the silence, echoing in my ears. Someone had driven by, tossing a rock at the windshield of Mike's truck. "What the hell?" he shouted, turning to see the sour-say group of hooded figures at the other end of the lot. My heart raced as unfamiliar adrenaline surged through me. They pointed in our direction, laughter mingling with insults that pierced the night. "Just drive away," I gasped, panic making my voice sharp. "We're not leaving," Mike said defiantly, feeding into their chaos. My instincts screamed to get away. This is ridiculous. In that heartbeat of time, Mike stepped toward the group, but I grabbed his arm, pulling him back. "Let's just go, please." The leader of the group turned directly toward me, as if sensing my fear, and made his way closer. "Look who it is," he jeered, his gaze flicking between me and Mike. "The star athlete and her plaything." Those words wrapped around me like a thick fog. I felt exposed and vulnerable, caught in a web of judgment that mercilessly tightened around my throat. Everything I felt about my connection to Lisa, the fragile realization of my heart's longing, was overshadowed by the impending confrontation that I never wished to face. In the claws of fear, I glanced at Mike, and for a terrifying moment, I realized that I was right back in the tempest I had hoped to escape. But just as everything spiraled into chaos, a glimmer of unexpected kindness flourished through the tumult. An unexpected beeping as another car pulled up. The new arrival was Magnus, a teammate I had once shared high school memories with. His tough demeanor spoke of an undeniable loyalty. As he emerged from the car, with a gaze that shot daggers at the troublemakers. "You want to mess with someone? Try me," he said smoothly, filling the space with an assurance that felt like a lifeline. As the tension thickened, and Mike's confidence wavered, a new torrent of uncertainty collided with the emotions swirling within me. I felt hope and dread intertwining, clawing for my attention. The night promised to unravel, and within its grip, I stood at a crossroad neither heart-healed nor relationship resolved. And then, as the standoff escalated amidst the shouts and defiance, my phone buzzed once more, this time with a single name lighting up the screen: Lisa. Tension clutched my heart as everything hung in precarious balance, a sensation as sharp and disorienting as the chaos spiraling around me. The moment my phone lit up with Lisa's name, time seemed to grind to a halt. My heart thudded painfully in my chest, an unyielding rhythm against the uncertainty swirling around me. I fumbled to silence the phone, but it felt as if the world was collapsing into a singularity of chaos, and all that existed was the divergence between my past and the unfamiliar promise of my future that lay within Lisa's words. Magnus stood defiantly between us, and the hooded figure's his presence a solid wall of determination. I could feel his shoulders tense, radiating a protective energy that was both comforting and disconcerting. With each jeer from the group haunting the edges of the parking lot, the air crackled with hostility, making it hard to breathe. "Just walk away, Magnus," I finally urged, the words slipping out before I could think. "This isn't worth it." "Not a chance," he replied, his fervor unwavering. "They want to intimidate you, not here." There was a fierce protectiveness in his voice, but it felt wrong. I didn't want anyone fighting my battles for me. As the tension held, Mike took a step back toward me, his frustration morphing into something softer, not understanding, but concern. "We both need to take a breath," he suggested, but the recklessness from the group escalated, shouts echoing against the concrete barriers. "Your little girl is scared, huh? Why don't you stand up for her?" The sneer from the leader dripped with mockery, and a knot tightened in my stomach. It was a strange sensation. I wanted to defend Mike, yet I wanted nothing more than to escape both his restless energy and the brewing storm at the edge of this parking lot. A strange warmth surged up my arm. Just then Magnus had reached out, linking his arm with mine. It was a gesture of support, yet it felt foreign. I knew it wasn't his intention to blur any lines. Our past had been innocent and steeped in camaraderie. But here we stood, the two of us bearing witness to the wreckage before us. The moment fragmented further when I considered turning my focus back to the throbbing buzz of my phone. The irony was not lost on me. Lisa's potential offer of solace arrived just as my life had spiraled into turmoil. My fingers trembled against the cool surface of the phone. "Don't answer that," Mike urged, his brow furrowing with concern. But between the hardening tension around me and something within my heart breaking open, could I resist? "Lisa," I exhaled, the name a prayer dislodging from my lips. "You're choosing her over this?" Mike's voice turned sharper, the heat of jealousy sparking in his eyes. "Is that what this is about?" It stung, each word carving deeper into me. Before I could respond, before I could even think, the argument crescendoed, reaching its peak. "Shut your mouths and walk away," Magnus shouted, stepping forward, unyielding against their taunts. The leader of the group laughed, a sound that scraped against the rawness of the moment. Just when it felt like everything would spill into violence, the figure in the lead paused, seemingly reconsidering. "What's wrong with you anyway? You think you're some kind of hero?" "No," Magnus replied coolly, his voice unwavering. "I'm just a guy trying to keep things from getting worse." As the words settled in the air, something shifted. In that charged atmosphere, something fragile flickered. Beneath the high-stakes tension, I felt a knot in my stomach settle momentarily. But then, my phone buzzed again. "Please, it's important. I need to talk." The urge to answer surged back, a call to something deeper that I couldn't ignore. "I need to go," I managed, but the words came out barely above a whisper, drowned amid the tumult of hostility around me. Mike stepped forward, his frustration manifesting into frantic desperation. "You can't just walk away now. We're in the middle of this, what do you expect?" But my heart pounded, heedless of danger. I felt like tethered glass, fragile, caught between choices, suspended between the looming violence and the fragile possibility of what lay beyond the moment. I took a step toward Magnus and, to my surprise, he mirrored my movement, creating a united front against the chaos. Then, just as I finally felt a stream of courage igniting within me, something daring emerged from the shadows. A siren light spun in the distance and came rushing toward us. It was a police cruiser, its lights flashing ominously through the darkness. With it, an influx of fear dispersed some of the tension, the group instinctively starting to scatter. I took a deep breath, the weight of uncertainty buoyed by a flicker of hope. "Let's go!" Magnus urged, dragging me away from the impending confrontation as Mike hesitated. Before I could process it, my phone buzzed once more, and a feeling of dread washed over me. I swiped to see a face flashed on the screen, Lisa's face. A look of earnestness radiated behind her determined eyes. The message was stunning. "I saw you tonight. I know what you really want." And that was all it took, a sentence that turned my world back onto its axis as I found myself suspended in that moment between courage and chaos, longing and fear. I was on the brink of descent, teetering closer to a truth that could either shatter me or finally set me free. As the sirens faded into the distance, the aftermath of that icy parking lot hung over us like a dark cloud. Magnus and I stood beneath the flickering lights of the street lamp, a lingering tension threading between us, while Mike remained just a few steps back, his expression morphing through confusion and anger. "Let's just move," I said softly, feeling the sharp edges of the evening weighing down my resolve. But I felt trapped in a limbo, the burden of choices looming ahead. I fumbled with my phone. Lisa's message glowed like a lighthouse in a storm, pulling me toward it while the turbulent waters roiled around us. "Are you really going to just ditch us? After everything?" Mike's voice cut into my thoughts. There was disappointment carved in the lines of his face, layered beneath anger that threatened to erupt. "I need to know what she wants, Mike," I replied, my voice cracking slightly as I turned back to him. "This isn't just about you or me, there's more going on here. More than I can face alone. You don't owe her anything." The bitterness in Mike's tone calmed just enough to hear his vulnerability, but I couldn't grasp the hand he was offering. "Not now. Maybe she's the only one who understands me," I whispered, feeling the heat begin to rise in my veins. Magnus stepped toward me, his presence steady, like a rock amidst the shifting sands of my emotions. "Do you really think she'll bring you peace? After all this?" I caught his eyes, those depths both soft and stormy. "I don't know," I admitted, my heart aching as uncertainty tightened its grip around me. "But I have to try." A moment passed, heavy with implications, and Magnus ran a hand through his hair, frustration seeping into the air between us. "You can't keep searching for answers in others when the questions lie within you." His words struck deep, echoing through the confusion swirling in my mind. Was I really looking for answers in Lisa, or was I trying to escape the discomfort of my reality? Just then, an unexpected vulnerability crept forth from Magnus. "I'm not your enemy, you know," he said, his voice low. "I care what happens to you. Just please think about it." He held my gaze, and it almost made me want to reach for him, to share the weight of my turmoil, but the distance between us remained unyielding. "I'll think about it," I promised, though I wasn't sure if I was telling him or myself. We began walking slowly, the weight of unspoken words hanging in the air. Magnus hadn't let go of my arm, and the warmth of his touch felt oddly comforting amid the chaos. Suddenly my phone buzzed again, and it felt like the world stopped. I glanced down at the new message, "Meet me at the park in 10. You'll understand everything." "Alone?" My breath hitched as panic rippled through me. Alone. The word alone echoed ominously, as shadows of doubt began enveloping my thoughts. Everything about the message felt dreadfully ominous, yet there was a flicker of intrigue, a pull that trickled through my veins. I looked up, torn between the two men who stood beside me, Mike's furrowed brow weighing heavy with protective instincts, and Magnus' quiet concern laden with uncharted emotions. "I have to go," I said, voice trembling. "Is that really a good idea?" Magnus frowned, impatience melding with worry. "What if she's setting you up for something? Can't you just trust me for once?" I shot back, the sincerity in my voice a mix of exhaustion and urgency. "Please don't do this," Mike interjected, a raw plea within his words, his voice thick with emotion. "We're here for you." And as their voices echoed in my mind, the internal struggle buzzed violently within me, amplifying with each heartbeat. Standing there, I felt as though doors were opening and closing all at once, each choice steering me down a path laden with uncertainty. "I'll be back," I breathed out, swallowed, a knot of nerves rising in my throat. I stumbled backward, my heart pounding in the reverberating silence. Forcing myself to meet their eyes one last time, I turned and hurried away into the night, leaving behind the warmth of camaraderie, the safety of familiarity, hurtling toward the unknown. But as I felt the distance widen, a seedling of hope rooted within me. Would this choice lead to answers or plunge me deeper into despair? As I reached the park, I took a deep breath, adrenaline coursing through me, uncertainty mixing with anticipation. But standing beneath the pale moonlight, I felt something dark shift in the shadows. A figure emerged, and with it, the unexpected twist of fate. "Lisa," I breathed, barely able to comprehend her presence before another figure stepped forth, someone I recognized all too well, a face that sent a jolt of dread through my heart. Surprise. It was someone from my past, someone I never expected to see again, drawing closer with a sinister smile. And in that moment, beneath the haunting glow of the moon, the stakes couldn't feel higher. The tension in the air was almost palpable, a thick fog of unresolved emotions swirling around us as I stood face to face with someone who should have remained a ghost in the annals of my past. Their familiar smile twisted into something that felt like a trap, dredging up forgotten pain and buried secrets. I fought to maintain my composure, pushing back nausea at the resurfacing memories. "Why are you here?" My voice trembled, the words escaping my lips like a warning, loaded with unspoken fear. "Come on, you didn't really think you could just cut ties, did you?" The figure, Ryan, stepped closer, his playful demeanor tainted with an unsettling edge. I wanted to retreat, to find solace in the safety of Mike and Magnus, but a greater sense of dread rooted me to the spot. Beside him, Lisa's tight lips curled slightly, and her aura transformed from a beacon of support into something unrecognizable. "I just thought you should have all the pieces before you made any decisions," she said, her voice steady yet strange, like a calm before a storm. Every instinct screamed for me to flee, yet curiosity held me captive. "What pieces?" I demanded, trying to reclaim control over the spiraling situation. "Your past and your present can collide in messy ways," Ryan replied, his tone almost teasing. "I believe you need clarity more than anything." I shook my head, confusion mingling with anger. This wasn't the reunion I had envisioned with Lisa. It felt like Shed turned the tables, casting a shadow over our history and trapping me in the darkness of my past with Ryan at the helm. "Leave her alone," Lisa snapped, the fierceness in her tone catching me off guard. Instead of solidarity, she now exuded that same gripping tension I felt with Magnus and Mike. "You don't have the right to twist her life like this," she added, not meeting my gaze. "Right?" Ryan laughed lightly, his eyes glinting with a misguided sense of confidence. "This is her life more than any of you know. It's just a small piece of a larger puzzle." He stepped closer, the air thickening around us, the scent of danger intermingling with memories I wished to forget. "Tell me, Isn't it tiring to chase after ghosts? Why not embrace reality? A shiver slid down my spine as the pieces of his words slowly fell into place. The implications began to crystallize into a sickening clarity, the idea that everything I feared was wrapped tightly in their web of manipulation. It was a game to them, a cruel repeat of cycles long past. You think this is a joke? I spat, the bitterness spilling from my lips, emboldened by anger. You want to turn my life into your entertainment? Not entertainment. Just insight, he replied, taking another step forward. You've been brought here for a reason, haven't you? To confront what you've left unresolved. Each point he raised was a dagger aimed at the jagged pieces of my heart, threatening to shatter the fragile state of equilibrium I clung to. I glanced at Lisa, searching her eyes for a hint of reassurance, but all I saw was turmoil. Magnus and Mike's absence became like a void against the chaos, heavy and conspicuously missing. Stop twisting everything, Lisa said suddenly, her voice wavering between fury and desperation. You're not actually helping her. You just want to hurt her, hurt me, or shed the light I had long avoided? The question flooded my mind, a siren song echoing louder than the chaos swirling around us. What are you trying to prove, Ryan? I finally asked, forcing my voice steady despite the erratic thump in my chest. He pretended to ponder my inquiry, a mock-serious expression etched across his features before breaking into a smile that could chill the warmth from the sun. And not trying to prove anything, just freeing you from the chains of your past. You can't move forward until you understand why you fell behind in the first place, chains you built. I retorted, the reluctance to face my fears conflicting with my simmering rage. You never wanted better for me. Only more for yourself. I was the best part of your past. He hissed back, his facade slipping to reveal the simmering anger beneath. And you threw that away. It's only fair I show you what you opted out of when you decided to dismiss everything we had. The air frosted around us, a weight settling firmly in the depths of my gut. I fought against the urge to crumble under the emotional strain, feeling dizzy as memories rushed past dark corners of my childhood, the heavy silences that followed each fracture in my family. Before I could respond, Lisa moved between us, arms crossed defiantly. You need to leave. Now. Or what? Ryan challenged, his voice snapping like a whip. You're both bound in this limbo. Do you really think you can escape the narrative written long before either of you took your first breath? With those words, I felt energy coiling tightly around us, a manipulating force luridly tugging at my mind. The echo of unresolved questions stung fiercely as I realized this would only deepen the chasm I stood on the brink of entering. Enough! I shouted, finding an ounce of strength within me, my heart a riot of emotions as I relayed my intention to break free of this haunting cycle that threatened to engulf me. I could feel the tears welling up, fighting desperately against the tides of years gone by, but I had to fight. As I turned to leave, the shadows whispered promises of despair lingering behind me. Behind, the threat remained palpable, swirling like a dark cloud as I fled toward the night, not only from Ryan, but also from the uncertainty that came with forging ahead without facing the fanged jaws waiting to swallow me whole. But in that moment, beneath the weight of the moon, a single voice rang out, Lisa, trembling yet fiercely unyielding. If you leave, you may never know the truth of us. I turned again, frozen by her words, visions of our past crashing in with a newfound clarity. What truth was she hiding? Would knowing it shatter my heart or piece it back together? Stay, and face this, she implored, her gaze locking me in place, unraveling the plans I had just begun to construct. But as she stood there, battling the shadows as I quivered on the edge of uncertainty, I understood that stepping out meant not only leaving my past, but potentially closing the door on a future unexplored. And as I hesitated, the stakes escalated higher than I could have ever imagined. The chill of the night wrapped around me, a velvet cloak shrouding the tension that hung heavier than the clouds overhead. My breath hitched as I stood at the crossroads of two spiraling paths, each fraught with its own terrors. Lisa's unwavering gaze pinned me in place, igniting a war of emotions within. "Fine," I finally muttered, my voice barely a whisper yet resolute. The decision weighed heavily on the edges of my heart, but curiosity bubbled beneath the surface, pushing me forward. I took a tentative step back, a concession to the growing dread that twisted in my gut. "Tell me the truth." Lisa's eyes sparkled with a strange mix of relief and resignation. "Thank you," she said softly, stepping closer, her hand brushing against my arm as she guided me into the space we had occupied uncomfortably moments before. "But it's not just mine to tell. Ryan needs to understand he can't play with destinies like this." Ryan's laughter dripped like poison into the air as he crossed his arms, a smirk illuminating the challenging crinkle in his eyes. "Oh, this is rich. A team effort, is it? The truth is multifaceted. How quaint." "Enough." Lisa's voice cut through his jibes like a knife. I saw a flicker of the strong woman I had once known, buried beneath her own turmoil. "No more games, Ryan. Just tell her what happened. Why you came back now." Ryan chuckled darkly, shifting his weight with an almost feline grace. "Dear Lisa, truths wrapped in confessions can be unkind. You both risk shattering this delicate moment of honesty with bitterness. Our past can be enlightening or devastating, depending on the perspective." "Stop!" I barked, shock coursing through my veins. A part of me craved clarity, while another wanted nothing more than to silence this sickening exchange. "Why are you so intent on pulling me back into this?" "Because," Ryan replied, his tone suddenly serious, "you need to see everything. To know the depth of what you left behind. Most importantly, to understand what you're really running from." My pulse quickened, the wild rhythm echoing my escalating doubts. Did I truly know what I was running from? Shadows of my past fluttered in and out of view, every moment of pain, disappointment, and betrayal woven tightly into the fabric of my being. The thought of reliving the darkest memories was unbearable, yet not knowing loomed even heavier. "And what about your truth?" I snapped back at Ryan, my voice shaking with the tremor of buried emotions. "What chains bind you to this mess?" A flicker of something guilt, perhaps, crossed his features, but it was gone as quickly as it came. "My truth? Isn't it simply a reflection of your fear? When you hide from your past, it colors your present. Trust me, I know where I stand, even if it's in the darkness." The air thickened with a tension that felt electric. Lisa turned to me, her eyes shimmering like dew on leaves in the first light of dawn. "You're not just afraid of Ryan. You're scared of what we all were and what we can be, if you let yourself." My heart raced, a flutter of hope intermingled with doubt, contagiously sharing its warmth. Just as I was beginning to grasp the thread of understanding between us, Ryan scoffed, the moment tainted by his blithe dismissal. "Hope? Do you even remember what that cost us? Hope is just a pretty word for pain wrapped in ribbons. I don't care," I shouted, urgency surging through me. "Pain or not, I need to choose my path. I can't live bound in regret, and I refuse to let you dictate my choices." A moment hung in the air, thick with unspoken challenges, before I turned away, desperate to squelch the deep-rooted fears clawing their way up from the corners of my heart. Suddenly, Lisa's hand tightened around my wrist, grounding me. "Wait, please. There's something else. Something you need to know about my past, about the choices we all made." Her voice trembled, and the weight of those words felt like bricks falling silently into a deep abyss. I felt as though I stood on a precipice, staring down into darkness, while flanked by turbulent emotions that begged to be released. "What is it?" I asked, leaning closer, my heart racing at the thought of revelations lingering in the shadows. "Just tell me." But just as she opened her mouth, a shrill ringtone blared to life, cutting through the moment. We all froze as Lisa fumbled for her phone, her face paling as she glanced at the screen. "It's Mike," she breathed, panic imbued with curiosity. Answer it, I urged, vaguely aware of Ryan's disdainful gaze boring into Mellering like a vulture. No, it's not, but the shriek of my own heart drowned her words, igniting an unseen flame of desperate hope. Could Mike be what pulled me back from the edge? As she hesitated, I felt the gravity shift beneath our feet. Please, Lisa, I pressed, urgency prickling my skin. He might have answers we need. With shaking hands, she answered the call, all eyes on her as silence enveloped us. Mike? What is it? Is everything okay? Her tone shifted dramatically as she listened, confusion twisting into alarm, and finally turning into disbelief. What do you mean? How is that possible? She whispered, eyes darting between Ryan and myself, each second stretching out like an eternity. And just when I thought I could grasp the truth, the world tilted again. The shadows surged forth, darker than before, as Lisa's expression shifted from horror to fear, her lips parting in shock at whatever words were spilling from Mike's lips. What are you saying? She stammered, clutching the phone tightly, her knuckles turning white as she struggled to maintain her composure. And then, without warning, she dropped the phone, the connection severed as her gaze met mine raw and unfiltered. The truth erupted between us, a chaotic tempest unleashed at our feet, while Ryan watched with subdued amusement, as if the truth was merely another game for him to play. What is it? I demanded, my heart hammering against my ribcage. What did he say? And in that moment, all hope twisted beneath a burden of revelations, our future spiraling in unpredictable ways, unresolved threads of the past threatening to intertwine with the present once more. Just as I braced for the unexpected blow, Lisa reached out, her hand shaking, as if grasping for the not-so-distant possibility of safety amidst the chaos. Mike, he said, I'd better sit down because someone we lost isn't gone after all. A chasm of uncertainty opened beneath my feet, swallowing us in a swirl of emotions as my heart sank to a new low, the implications wildly beyond what I could have ever imagined. The revelation hung thick in the air, a palpable tension that morphed the night into a surreal tableau of fear and disbelief. My mind raced, struggling to grasp the enormity of what Lisa had just unveiled. Is it possible? My voice quivered, betraying the tremors rippling through my chest. The shadows of our past closed in around us, wrapping tight like a fog that would not lift. Lisa's features twisted in a mixture of hope and dread. I never wanted to believe it. But if it's true, her breath hitched, as if naming the possibility might somehow summon the ghost of the past back into view. And that single, luminous hope clawed at my heart. Ryan stepped forward with a mocking grin, a disruption to our fragile moment. How poetic, really. A ghost from the past resurrected to haunt you. He leaned against a nearby tree, arms crossed, the arrogance radiating from him a bitter juxtaposition to the tremors running through Lisa and me. Shut up. I snapped, acid bitterness surging. This isn't about you. Isn't it? He shot back. It always was. You can pretend all you want, but decisions have a way of rubbing off on those around us, like it or not. Lisa shook her head, trying to filter out his incessant taunting. We can't focus on him right now. We have to figure this out. If Mike is saying someone is alive, we have to investigate. Investigate? I echoed, the reality of her words dawning like the first rays of sunlight piercing through a stormy sky. How do we do that? What if it's a mistake? What if it's a trap? Lisa lowered her gaze, her thoughts flickering like candlelight in the wind. I wish I had answers. But Mike wouldn't have said anything without proof. He's not the type to joke about something so serious. If he's right, the thought was thrilling and terrifying all at once. Was it possible that our lost friend, the one who had left a void we could never dream of filling, could somehow return to us? The yearning for a lost connection clashed violently with the fear of igniting old wounds, the scars still fresh despite the passage of months. A moment of silence settled among us, thick and foreboding. I could feel the weight of Ryan's presence, like a fly buzzing incessantly around my head, seeking to spoil the brief flicker of hope Lisa and I exchanged. Every second that passed felt like an eternity filled with what-ifs and unfulfilled potential. "You're all going to rush back into this?" he sneered, amusement flickering in his eyes. "The past waits for no one. It will swallow you whole if you let it. Just remember, once it has its grip on you, there's no escape." His words dug in deep, eliciting a surge of defiance. "No," I said firmly. "We're not running anymore. Not this time." I turned to Lisa, willing her to see the truth. We had the power to rewrite our narrative. But how? She whispered, dread flickering across her features. "We follow the path," I replied. "If he knows something, we cannot just let it hang here in the air like poison. We owe it to ourselves to find out. To face whatever shadows await in the corners of our past." Before Lisa could reply, a movement from the fringes caught my eye. A figure emerged, hidden in the twilight, before stepping closer into the warmth of the moonlight. My heart dropped as recognition struck a familiar silhouette that ignited both relief and terror. "Am I late to the party?" Mia said, her voice light and carefree, but I could see the unease nestle beneath her vibrant facade. "Mia," I breathed, a chorus of emotion swelling within me. "What are you doing here?" She twirled a loose strand of hair around her finger, her mannerism betraying her nerves. "I overheard you guys talking, and well, I wanted to help. I thought you could use some support." "Support?" Ryan interjected, his condescension palpable. "Support for what? Wandering blindly into the abyss? Shut up." Mia shot back, her sudden fierceness taking me by surprise. "This isn't about you, Ryan. Can't you see that your past has already caused enough damage? Some of us still care about each other, despite the pain." The truth of her statement hit like a raw nerve, and for a fleeting moment, I felt a spark of unity flicker between us all, however fractured that unity had become. "We need to talk," I said softly, the weight of our interconnected destinies pressing down heavily on my shoulders. Just as we began to strategize our next steps, the world tilted on its axis again. Lisa's phone vibrated violently against the ground where it had fallen, yanking our attention. I could feel the collective air leave the space as Lisa scrambled to retrieve it, her eyes wide with disbelief once more. "It's him!" she exclaimed. "Who?" I asked, dread creeping back around my heart. "The one who was supposed to be gone," she said breathlessly, fingers shaking over the screen as she read. "Mike. He sent a message. I found her. Meet me back at the old park." The invitation trembled in the space between us, a harbinger of both hope and dread, uncertainty pulsing through every fiber of my being. This could be a trap, Ryan warned, though his bravado was dampened by the flicker of understanding crossing his face, revealing a hint of the complexity buried within him. "If there's any chance that it's true," my voice trailed off as I met Lisa's eyes, fears colliding with the glimmers of hope swirling around us. "Then we owe it to ourselves to find out," Mia added, her spirit unwavering. I could already feel my heart threatening to split at the seams, caught between the weight of caution and the longing for something more. After everything we had endured, could we really face the chance of reopening a chapter we thought was closed forever? Before I could respond, a distant sound echoed in the wind, a faint whispering of names, punctuated by the rustle of leaves, as if the universe itself were urging us forward, into the darkness we once shied away from. "Let's go," I said, the determination surging within me. With every step I took toward the unknown, I steeled my heart against the collision of past and present, grasping for whatever truth awaited us on this journey that beckoned us both recklessly and earnestly forward. But as I turned to lead the way, a realization struck from the depths of uncertainty. What if, in seeking the truth, we were destined to unearth something even more devastating than we had ever lost? The moon cast an ethereal glow over the empty paths of the old park, illuminating our tentative gathering with an otherworldly luminescence. The atmosphere was laced with electricity, each breath filling my lungs like a crescendo of unfulfilled dreams and unspoken fears. As we approached, the shadows lengthened, the gnarled branches reaching out like fingers grasping for something lost. "Why here?" Ryan muttered under his breath, his previous bravado dimming as the reality of our situation sank in. "Maybe it's as far from everything else as we could get," Mia suggested softly, her gaze scanning the treetops as if expecting something or someone to drop from them. I was lost in my thoughts, spiraling through a mental kaleidoscope of memories and fears. Mike's message had sparked a flicker of hope, but it held the weight of years lost, of conversations cut short, and regrets that echoed in the silence we had all shared. Every step drew me closer to the truth, yet it dragged a shadow of that truth. What if we uncovered more pain than healing? "Are we sure we want to do this?" Lisa asked quietly, grabbing my arm as if to ground herself amid the uncertainty. "What if it isn't him? What if we're just hope isn't the enemy?" I interrupted, gently pulling her toward me. "Even if it leads us down a dark path, we've come this far. We deserve to find out." But doubt coiled tightly around my heart, and I couldn't let go of the fear that something darker awaited in the shadows. The park had always been filled with laughter, our youthful antics echoing through its corridors. Now it felt like a graveyard of those memories, haunted by possibilities that threatened to swallow us whole. As we neared the old oak tree near the center of the park, a figure slowly emerged from the darkness. Mike stepped forward, his expression clouded, a tumult of emotions contradicting the silhouette he cast against the night sky. I felt a mix of relief and anxiety surge within me. The familiar comfort of his presence clashed violently with a wave of uncertainty. What had he unearthed in this grave of memories? "Thank you for coming," he said, his voice steady though tinged with something more vulnerable than I remembered. I noticed the shadows beneath his eyes, a silent testament to battles fought and lost. "I know it's risky, but you need to know the truth about her." Mia shifted uneasily, glancing at the ground. "What do you mean?" He hesitated, his eyes darting between us, possibly weighing the gravity of his revelation. "You all thought she was gone, but she was taken. She's alive. And I found her." The air rushed out of my lungs. "What? How is that possible? Who took her?" My voice was edged with disbelief, the weight of his words both a balm and a dagger. "Someone close to her," Mike murmured, the tremor in his voice indicating he had battled with this knowledge alone for far too long. "They wanted to erase her from our lives, to make sure we never knew the truth." Ryan scoffed, but I could see the quiver in his stance, the unease of facing the truth he had always disregarded. "So what? This is just a game for you? You expect us to dive headfirst into some twisted plot because it's convenient for you? Enough." Lisa surprised us all, her voice rising, a beacon in the ominous shadows. "This isn't the time for accusations." If there's even a chance, her gaze locked onto Mike's, filled with a hope that seemed almost palpable in the cool night air. "What do we need to do?" "I don't have all the answers yet," Mike admitted, sadness coating his tone. "I just know we have to be careful whatever you think you're walking into. It's more complex than any of us are ready for. There are people watching, people who'll do anything to keep the truth hidden. It's dangerous." My heart raced, a collision of fear and determination igniting my senses. I could hear the distant rustling of leaves, feel the anxiety gripping my companions. Could we really face this? Was I ready for the chaos that lay ahead? "What if we can't find her?" Mia whispered, fear lacing her voice. "What if?" But I couldn't let fear dominate us tonight. I took a deep breath, squeezing Lisa's hand in solidarity. "Then we'll hold each other up. We've faced darkness before. If Mike believes she's still here, we owe it to ourselves to find out why." As we prepared to delve further into this tangled web, I felt an unexpected warmth encircle my heart. It was the unyielding bond among us, this strange family forged in the fire of our shared pain. But then, out of the corner of my eye, movements in the darkness caught my attention. I turned, catching a glimpse of a shadow retreating deeper into the trees, vanishing before I could call out. Was someone watching us? Did you see that? I breathed, the unsettling feeling returning, gnawing at my gut. Mike's eyes widened, filled with an urgency I had never seen before. We need to move. Now! We pivoted abruptly, the weight of our mission pulling us further into the embrace of shadows, where secrets lay hidden and the truth awaited just beyond the next bend in the path. My heart thundered in my chest, a chaotic symphony of hope and despair, as we ventured onward into the unknown, unaware of the depths to which those secrets could plunge. The warmth of the evening wrapped around us like a fragile blanket as we stepped further into the darkened park, adrenaline coursing through our bodies. We moved as a collective, a shared resolve igniting between us, but under the surface, a current of fear intertwined with anticipation. I glanced at Mike, whose strong exterior had begun to crack under the weight of uncertainty. It was a reminder that our journey was more than just about uncovering hidden truths. It was about confronting our past. We reached the oak tree, its gnarled branches stretching like forgotten dreams. The air was heavy, thick with secrets as Mike took a shaky breath. I know this is going to sound crazy, he began, glancing around as if he feared being overheard. But I found a clue, something that could lead us to her. With a trembling hand, he pulled a piece of paper from his pocket. My heart raced at the sight, desperate to grasp the hope it might hold. What does it say? Lisa urged, leaning closer to catch the light. Mike unfolded the paper, and as he did, I felt the tension in the air shift. It's a location somewhere she might be staying. He paused, his voice dropping lower. But there's something else. There's a warning. What kind of warning? Ryan scoffed, disbelief etched across his features. But Mike continued, undeterred. It said that whoever took her is always watching. It's dangerous. We can't go in thinking we're just going to rescue her. This isn't a fairy tale. What are you saying? Mia interjected, her voice quavering as she took a step closer to me. You're not suggesting we just waltz in there? No, of course not, Mike replied, frustration creeping into his voice. We need a plan, a strategy. But we can't let fear paralyze us. Deserves our fight. As his words hung in the air, I felt a whirlwind of emotion spiral within me. Fear, hope, anticipation. I took a deep breath, gathering my courage. Then let's make a plan. We can't let her down again. In that moment, something shifted not just within me, but among all of us. We had spent so much time floundering in our pasts, and now we stood on the precipice of action. Okay, Lisa said, her eyes shining with determination. If they're watching us, we'll need to be discreet. We can scout the area, see what we're dealing with before making any moves. A nod circled through our group, faces reflecting a steely resolve. But just then, the faint sound of rustling leaves caught my attention. It was distant, fleeting, but it sent chills spiking down my spine. Did you hear that? I whispered, the hairs on my neck prickling as I scanned the shadows surrounding us. Everyone stay alert. Mike whispered back, instinctively moving closer to us. We need to find out if we're really alone. The tension in the air thickened, like a taut bowstring ready to snap. We shuffled closer together, weaving our way through the towering trees, our hearts beating in synchrony as we clung to the fragile hope our gathered plan offered. After several moments, we reached the edge of a clearing, and as we peered beyond, I caught a glimpse of movement in the distance. There, through the trees, the glow of fluorescent lights flickered like an all-too-familiar beacon. My heart raced. Could it be the place where she actually was? Is that? Mia started, but her voice trailed off in disbelief as she caught sight of the building standing proud within the shadows. Mike stepped forward, eyes squinting against the glow. That's it. That's where we need to go. Wait! Lisa interrupted, grabbing his arm with urgency. If they really are watching us, we can't just rush in. We need to be smarter. I think we should split up, I suggested, surprising even myself. The idea ignited a cocktail of fear and adrenaline within me, but deep down, a whisper urged me forward. A distraction might give us the chance to figure out what's happening inside. Every second counts. Fine, Ryan said, crossing his arms, though a hint of determination gleamed in his eyes. But we need to choose a clear rendezvous point. We can't leave anyone behind. With our tiny group united in purpose, we debated our approach, piecing together strategies that bridged our strengths. It felt surreal. Each heartbeat echoed within me, as the reality of our fractured past coalesced into a force we could wield. After meticulous discussion, we chose our directions, carefully mapping out scenarios and establishing a meeting place less than a mile away. As we prepared to set off, I stole a glance at Lisa, sensing something deeper swell between our unspooling stories. "Whatever happens, we'll find our strength in each other," I whispered, and I saw the flicker of her fire ignite in return. "Always," she replied, squeezing my hand gently before we parted ways. The air crackled with anticipation as I moved into the shadows, surrounded by the cover of night. My heart thundered, but beneath it all, I felt a newfound sense of purpose guiding my steps, a spirit of loyalty that bolstered my courage. Navigating through the underbrush, I cautiously approached the glowing building that seemed to pulse with energy, every corner crawling with nerves and determination. Beneath the cloak of darkness, I felt my independence rekindle, and the weight of the past begin to lift. I'd finally learned that sometimes confronting the shadows meant exposing your heart to the hum of possibility, even amid uncertainty. Every step I took pushed me forward, drawing me closer to a truth I had long sought. And then, just as I neared the entrance, the door swung open abruptly, and I stood frozen, caught in a moment of unfathomable surprise. A face stared back at me, one I had only dreamt about, a face that had once meant the entire world. "You came for me," she whispered, awe spilling from her lips, a soft glow illuminating the space as she took a careful step forward. "Me," I gasped, disbelief settling over me like a warm blanket. You're alive." Her eyes glimmered with unearthly beauty, but something deeper shimmered, the depth of her soul reaching out as I felt the intricate web of our past bind us as one. Her voice trembled, but a smile broke through her tear-streaked face as she continued, "I knew you'd come." In that moment, everything changed. The shadows of uncertainty fell away, replaced with the brilliance of connection, love, and the radiant possibility of a future yet unwritten. We had brought ourselves to the edge of a great unknown, and together we would embrace it as one. And in the merging of those long-lost paths, I understood. Sometimes, the heart knows its way home, leading you to where you've always belonged, like a lighthouse guiding you through the darkest storms. "Let's get out of here," I said, the vibrations spooling within us like the threads of our shared histories. "We've got a future to rewrite." As we stepped toward the unknown together, ready to reclaim what was stolen, I held on to the belief that love could indeed conquer the shadows, and that together we would rewrite our story, one of hope, resilience, and unwavering strength. And as the night unfolded, our pasts finally caught up to us, intertwining with the truth, a brilliant tapestry of the future we dared to dream.